want to welcome to the show today Ikram Ali. Before I do obviously introduce him, I will speak a bit about who he is. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree with honours and is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. In short, CIPD. And it's of course the UK's professional body for human resources, learning and development professionals. A learning and development specialist, trainer and strategic commercial partner, Ikram's career has taken him from Buckingham Palace, guys, Buckingham Palace, okay, big deal, to the civil service. And of course, he's helping people and organisations unlock their full potential. And I really feel like after the 5-minute conversation we've had, he's definitely unlocking mine today. But of course, let's hear more from him. Welcome to the show.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for having me.
How are you today?
I'm very good, very excited to be here.
Likewise, because I think from the conversation we've had, I'm like, okay, I can't wait to get into it straight away.
Let's get into it.
Fine. Okay, so Baya, you help people obviously bridge the gap between, let's say, their potential performance as well as, you know, just being themselves, really. So was that unlocked at a very young age? What did you decide to do when you were young, Ikram?
Like, when I was young, I didn't really have a definitive idea of where I wanted to go. You know, I did a degree, I did business, and business seemed the most logical route. Probably because I came from a family background of business. My father, like many South Asians, left Bangladesh at a very young age, left everything behind, worked extremely hard, and started a restaurant business, and then started quite a few. So business seemed to be something that was quite ingrained within me. So I studied business, but with general business studies, there's no definitive route of where you want to go into. And I graduated. And I think the greatest lesson was given to me by my mentor, Keith Woodrow, who's retired now. He said to me, I would have about 30 people who are graduating in my class. What's going to make me stand out? So if I'm a recruiter and I see 30 individuals who've all got the exact same business degree, what's going to make you stand out? So that's where I chose to apply to work for Her Majesty in Buckingham Palace as a warden. And that one thing probably opened up a lot for me, because I felt like this is a place I don't feel I belong. But those are the places we should belong. So I worked in Buckingham Palace. I did 2 summers there, and I met Her Majesty, I met the royal family. Yes. I helped train a lot of wardens who would come in to open up during the summer opening. So that training, developing, bridging that gap between potential and performance, it was something that came very natural to me. But at that point, learning and development was very, very new. This we were talking about the early 2000s. And I'd left there and I went into the Home Office. I worked in the Privy Council to begin with. Wow. And then I moved on to work for the network. So me and Danny Lafayette, who was one of the chief members of Human Resources, we created the network, and it officially launched in 2006. It's a formal arm of HR that promotes equal opportunities for ethnic minorities that work as civil servants. And again, I found myself in a position where I didn't feel like I belonged. But again, it's the moment you realize this is somewhere where I don't belong, that is actually where you belong. And our people, South Asians in particular, we have to work twice as hard, overeducate, to find ourselves in a position where it levels the playing field amongst most of the people that work within the landscape. And if we don't overeducate, we don't overcompensate, we find ourselves now feeling like we're imposters, we don't belong. Yes. So to fill that gap, you overqualify. The level of qualifications you'd find with the majority of successful South Asian professionals, you find that they're far overqualified for the roles that they do. But it's a way for us to feel like we belong. Yeah. So whereas someone in my field, I work in learning and development. My background's in neuroscience, it's in behavioral psychology, it's in cognitive behavioral therapy, it's in business, multimedia, so many different domains. But what that gives me is confidence, because I'm able to bridge gaps between different pathways and see things that other people might not be able to. So it gives me a multidimensional viewpoint to things. But this is what we should all try to do, all of us, because we're ambassadors for our people, ambassadors for our faith. But we carry on a legacy of our parents. Everything that they sacrificed, we need to be an extension of that. And the way we do that is by making ourselves present in places where we feel we probably don't belong, but we let people know that we do belong in those places.
Definitely. And was that something that came to you when you were at Buckingham Palace at the time? I mean, you were young at the time, and obviously you didn't have the experience that you have now.
Probably not at the time of Buckingham Palace. That was where it kind of innately, there was a signal there, but I didn't feel like it probably started there. It probably started more, I think, when I completed my associate diploma in learning and development. because the actual confidence that I had then was because I can now formally lean on my competence.
Right.
I now knew frameworks, I knew tools, I knew techniques. I understood how systems worked. So when I spoke about certain systems, I had the confidence of this toolkit, of these frameworks, the actual things that work within the industry. And I think from there is probably where it started to expand a lot more. And the immediate result that I found by applying yourself and learning was the more you learn, the more aware you become, and the more people looked at you for knowledge or came to you for knowledge. So you start to now get interested and learn more and diversify your knowledge.
Definitely. And at that time, I mean, you've worked at, of course, you've worked at Buckingham Palace, you've worked for the Privy Council. Are there any key challenges that you faced at the time that one wouldn't face now?
There's a challenge I faced in 2008, and I have faced that challenge now about 4 or 5 times.
Right.
In 2008, there was an economic recession, and prior to that, I worked for an IBM reseller. You know, it was a very, very glorious job, very well paid. I was flown around. I had dinner with very elite professionals. It was wonderful. But the counter effect of that was that my ego became inflated, and I found that I saw myself bigger than what I actually was. And when that recession happened, it was almost impossible to get another job because I felt that I deserved a role of a certain level. And I'd say probably for about 18 months, I did odd jobs. And eventually when I bit the bullet, and I just took any job, and this is where I went into luxury retail. So I worked in Harrods in Knightsbridge. Nice. I started off very small. I started off as a bag boy. I used to carry shopping bags for customers. So going from being flown to America, having all these fantastic dinners, to then now carrying shopping for people, it really humbled me because it connected me with people. And I realized back when I worked in Buckingham Palace and before that, I had a natural skill communicating and talking to people. And that's something that I started to do. I used to help train and develop new people that would come in. It took me 8 years patience of training, and in that time it's when I did my CIPD. I went from being an entry-level associate to their training and development lead, their duty manager, and you know I helped train over 1,000 people when I was there. I worked with 7,500 people there, and that I guess that humility of being brought back down again was a vital lesson to learn that you could never be too big. Always keep your ego in check. And since then, I've experienced maybe about 5 redundancies in different roles. And every time it's happened, initially you probably think, why me? But now I feel, well, what lesson am I being taught here? Because Allah is always teaching you a lesson to humble you. That either if you want to improve, Allah gives you the opportunity to find a way to improve. He doesn't just give you that improvement. It gives you a situation, either a setback or a failure. And you have to be reflective in those moments to see, like, what is Allah teaching me in this moment? To be more humble? Do I need to be smarter? Do I need to apply myself? And that's where, if you take those moments and actually try to grow and apply yourself, you find that your next step opens up. And I found for every redundancy that I've had, because I've applied that approach with intention, seeking out what my talents are, now grafting on my talents, I found that the next step that opens up, the next chapter that opens up, is always, alhamdulillah, phenomenal.
Alhamdulillah.
And if another recession or redundancy were to happen, I would look at it very positively, because I think Allah's teaching me a lesson here. There's an opportunity for me to grow. Where can I go from here?
Definitely. And I think that's quite a positive thing that you've said today, because I think even with me, when I've changed roles, I find that I'm always looking at it in a bit of a negative light, if anything, and really and truly is an opportunity and is a lesson that I can learn from each sort of a difficulty that I encounter. Talking about obviously difficulties, we're not all as learned as you in terms of, like, you know, getting through things like this. So what would you advise someone who's maybe like 25 going through something like that? How would they get up and get back into the fighting ground? How would they go about finding another job?
If I were to give some advice in this stage, I'll give the same advice that I would probably give myself if I was 25. And I'd say it's 3 things. The first one is make intention, make niyat. You know, ask Allah very specifically what it is that you want. You can't be vague to say, I want to be successful, I want a big house. You have to be very, very specific in what you want. Secondly, everyone is God gifted with a talent. Every single person Allah has blessed with some form of a talent. Identify what that talent is and turn it into a skill. You know, train. If you're good with people, learn about communication. You know, if you're good with numbers, learn about how investments work. If you're good with creativity, learn how to use software to draw. You know, find how you can turn that talent into a skill. And then the third one, which is the one that people probably don't do, is ask people for help. You know, when you make intention, and then you tie your camel, you make your effort, and you ask for help, Allah opens up pathways.
Of course.
People will answer your dua Allah will answer your dua through other people.
Oh, yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask other people for help. Go to those who are knowledgeable. In Islam, we call it shura, seek counsel. So seek counsel from those who you know are wise, who have been through that experience, who could then counsel you through, this is what I did, it may not work for you, but this is what I learned. Go to those who have experienced it, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
No, of course, that helps. Now I'm just in awe. I'm just thinking, wow, okay, next steps for you. Add that to the list right now.
Thank you.
Amazing. Now, obviously, you're now a strategic commercial partner, right? And you're a trainer and a coach. So that's a lot in one title, if anything. So what drives your work helping to help people unlock their potential?
I only had one mentor in my time, and this was back in the early 2000s, and I saw how that one bit of influence, how that shaped me. And that one bit of guidance from somebody who had so much experience, had experienced life, was able to take their decades of experience and then in one little, phrase or sentence or one little moment, teach me something that could really help me. Because I see the value that had in me, I feel it's almost incumbent, it's a blessing. Whatever talent or skill or opportunity I have, it's a trust from Allah. And it's a gift. So long as I'm in the service of other people and I can help other people from it, I will always feel like I will confidently, inshallah, flourish, because it's not about growing me, it's about growing other people who probably don't have the opportunity to identify how can I grow. They probably don't have access to help, and if I'm there and I can help them, that's how I can flourish and that's how I can be of service.
Inshallah, I mean, we hope so. And of course, what does it mean now in your career? What's the next steps? What are you doing at the moment? Tell us.
So I ask people, please make dua. I have
Inshallah.
just submitted my last essay for my master's, for my level 7, and after which then I'll choose to kind of grow a bit more within my field.
Inshallah.
And I am looking to also publish a book, which I've been working on since 2008.
We want the first copy right here on channel.
Inshallah,
okay.
when it comes. So anybody who is aware of publishing, please do get in touch. I could use your support in this. So this is me asking for help. The book is, I've studied into Islam because it's me. It's everything that's kind of grown and governed me. I've also studied into psychology, neuroscience, life coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy. And where I've always noticed that people try to distinguish the difference between them, I found that they're all interconnected. So from an Islamic perspective, for a Muslim in particular, neuroscience, psychology, CBT, life coaching can all complement in how you might, where you feel you might be broken, how you can grow and use that to now elevate yourself to the next step. So every setback is actually almost like a slingshot preparing you to go forward.
Right.
So long as you use that to identify where are my faults, where do I need to grow, how's that going to prepare me for the next step. So inshallah, that's what I'd like to publish probably by the end of this year or early next year when I finish that.
Inshallah. Well, best of luck, and I can't
Thank
wait
you
to
very
see the book and read the book, inshallah, because I know it'll definitely help me in my career.
Thank you.
But other than that, talking about slingbacks and obviously talking about difficulties and let's say criticism, sometimes we can't self-criticize and sometimes we need someone else to help us. So do you think family have always been around to help you criticize?
Yeah, my parents have played a significant role. I would say my wife Shamima has played a very significant role in that. A great partner doesn't try to change you. They help you see you for who you really are, and they see potential within you, which helps shape you. And I firmly believe behind every good man is a great woman. And Shamima helped me a lot within my life. She advised me to do my CIPD. She saw that potential and that talent that I had, because I guess for me there was a lot of noise, and she cut through that noise and gave me structure.
Well, thank God she did, because we wouldn't have the talent that we have today, would we? Alhamdulillah. Amazing. And how do you guys balance sort of work and also family life? Is it hard sometimes, or?
It is hard. You have to make sacrifices. To be successful, you have to have discipline, but discipline's not enough. You have to be consistent with that discipline. And the sacrifices may be, you might need to cut back on sleep. You might need to cut back on some friends that you might see. You might have late nights in terms of that's when you might prioritize. So organizing is essential, and it's also a balance. You to have a successful relationship in any kind, you've got to give about 60% and only expect 40%. But if you're both doing the same, you're both getting more and you're both giving more. So it's about optics, and it's you need to have a good balance between that.
And if you don't have the balance, what happens?
Yeah, there's an offset on that equilibrium. There's an offset on that balance. So one ends up getting more, one doesn't get a lot. And in the long term, there's a tipping point where it becomes too much and things start to break. So that's why you need to have regular communication, understanding of what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then complement those. Like with any business, if you've got a partnership, you play off each other's strengths, don't you? You don't all both do the exact same thing. One's probably good in one area, you prioritize that, where you might lean on the other person for that, but then you lean on one another for help, and you support one another as well.
MashaAllah, inshallah, I find a partner like that, because that sounds like the perfect marriage ever. But inshallah, talking about marriages and obviously all that stuff, when someone looks back at your journey, right, what do you hope people will remember you for, if anything?
I would hope that my legacy is that I did good by Allah, I did good by my parents, that I did good by my wife and my children, that they can look back to see that I was of service. I left a message of positivity that can live after me. And because that, in essence, is what success is. You know, forget money, forget career success, that's great. But that kind of stops the moment you pass. And if you can leave behind, you know, positivity, that you've changed people's lives for the better, that legacy is what immortality is. You know, that's immortal legacy that can live on, and that to me is probably what success is.
Amazing. And talking about a positive message, if you had to, I guess, sum it up in a few words, what would that be?
Don't give up. Don't ever think that you don't belong in a room. You know, it's if it scares you, that's the one that's meant for you. So if you have a goal, you have a dream, you have an ambition, if it doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. Because the bigger it is, the more challenging it is, the more likely you'll be able to achieve it. And seek for help, isn't it? Ask people. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me. I'm more than happy to help mentor our community and provide guidance. I'm not perfect. I wouldn't call myself successful. I'm a student of success. I'm still on the journey of success.
Of course.
And inshallah, I hope that when my time does come, that my family and my children can see that I tried, you know, to live a life of good integrity. I tried to do good by Allah, my parents, my wife and my children.
Oh, well, inshallah, and thank you so much for being on the show today.
Pleasure.
I
Thank you for
definitely
having
think
me.
I'll be the first person to message you on LinkedIn, because I know I need help with my career
I'll be
and everything
ready.
else.
Thank you very
Inshallah.
much.
Thank you so much for being on the show.